The lordship and sovereignty observed in this fleeting world point to the everlasting world. Here, we observe the manifestations of a magnificent, eternal lordship and the works of a permanent and splendid sovereignty. Consider the grandeur of this lordship's owner. He causes the ever-changing earth, which submits to him, to die, and then brings it back to life, manages and directs it. He manages the sun and its satellites, all of which are subjugated to his power, and moves the whole sun-centered system. This magnificent eternal lordship and comprehensive perpetual sovereignty, which amazes intellects through its awesome acts, cannot be confined to the ever-changing momentary affairs related to this changeable, transient world. Among the pavilions of this lordship, this world is but an arena of trial, a place of exhibition. It will be destroyed at an appointed time, and then reformed into the foundation of the everlasting palaces to which its inhabitants will be transferred. The Lord of this changeable, transient world has prepared another perpetual world. Those with enlightened intellects, illuminate hearts, and illuminating spirits who have discovered the inner reality of creation and things and thus acquired nearness to the all-glorified God have informed us that God the Almighty has prepared an abode of reward for the obedient and an abode of punishment for the rebellious. He has promised and warned of these abodes and thus not break his promise or cancel his warning. In addition to the prophets, saints, and prophet, exacting scholars who have related this information to us, experts in these matters agree that this information, which is corroborated by the universe's science, is true. Can there be any other information truer than this? Samples of the resurrection displayed in the world. This world's owner continually displays many samples of the place of supreme gathering in this narrow, transient earth. Reflect upon earth's quickening in every resurrection of spring, during which countless instances of resurrection occur with perfect order within a short period, say about 6 days. See how innumerable plants and animals, while lying dead or almost dead, and either on or under the soil and mixed with each other, are revived with perfect distinction. How can anything tire the one who does this? Why should he be unable to create the heavens and earth in 6 days? Why should the resurrection of the dead not take place in the twinkling of an eye? Whatever happens in the world is not an end in itself. The one who writes countless books on a single page, the face of earth, without any confusion or mistake, obviously can rewrite a book that he wrote before and destroy it. To understand the intended meaning, reflect on, look at the imprints of God's mercy, how he revives earth after its death. Surely he is the reviver of the dead in the same way, and he is powerful over everything. All such acts required by his being the all-merciful and all-powerful Lord of creation show that these happenings, gatherings, and separations are not ends in themselves. There is no acceptable, reasonable relation between these important festivals and ceremonies and their particular, impermanent consequences within such a short, limited time. Therefore, they are only copies to be preserved with their consequences so that they can serve as the basis for what is to occur in the place of supreme gathering, and so that these fleeting things should yield perpetual forms, everlasting fruits, and eternal meanings. So, this world is no more than an arable field to plant for harvesting on the day of resurrection, a store that will be emptied into paradise and hell. Wisdom, favor, mercy, and justice require the afterlife. Consider how the eternal Lord and everlasting Sovereign displays the works and traces of his wisdom, favor, justice, and mercy in this transient world. He does so to the degree that anyone with open eyes and an unsealed heart must conclude that there can be no wisdom more perfect than his, no favor more gracious than his, no mercy more comprehensive than His, and no justice more glorified than His. All these works and traces may be the means for manifesting the truths of this wisdom, favor, mercy, and justice. If His kingdom contained no permanent lofty mansions with everlasting inhabitants, His wisdom, favor, mercy, and justice would have to be denied. This also would require us to accept that the one who does all these things originating in His wisdom, mercy, favor, and justice is, God forbid, such a thought, a capricious trickster, and a heartless tyrant. We would have to turn truths into their opposites and act that those with sound reasoning say is impossible. Arguments for the resurrection are not limited to those given above. The Qur'an points to innumerable indications of it, states that our Creator will transfer us from this ephemeral place of exhibition to the seat of His everlasting Lordship, and gives countless signs that He will change this fleeting, transitory realm for the perpetual one. Also, the divine names requiring the resurrection and the next life are not restricted to the all-wise, all-munificent, all-compassionate, all-just, and all-preserving, for all names manifested in the universe's administration demand it. In sum, the fact of the resurrection is openly and decisively declared by the all-glorified One and agreed on by His grace, beauty, majesty, and all other names. It is also agreed on by the Qur'an, which contains all books of the prophets, by Prophet Muhammad, upon him be peace and blessings, the most perfect member of creation, and the one who bears the meaning of the consensus of the messengers, prophets, discoverers of hidden realities behind things and events, by the saints and purified, exacting scholars and truthful ones, who all have purified, exalted, and illuminating spirits, and by the universe with all of its signs. All things in the universe, without exception, have two aspects. The first one is related to their Creator and has numerous tongues, all of which testify to divine oneness. The second one is connected with each item's final purpose and the hereafter, and has many God-given tongues that bear witness to the other world and the last day. For example, just as your existence as the best pattern of creation points to the necessary existence and oneness of your Maker, your rapid decline, despite a very comprehensive capacity, great talents, and ungratified desires for a happy eternal life points to the hereafter. Divine wisdom, divine favors, all-inclusive decoration and provision, His mercies, all-encompassing benevolence, and His overall justice and comprehensive and meticulous preservation establish the universal order. This point to the all-wise, all-munificent, all-compassionate, all-just, and all-preserving Maker, and demonstrate the truth of the afterlife, the ours near and imminent coming, and the realization of eternal happiness. O God, include us among the people of eternal happiness. Resurrect and gather us among the group of the eternally happy, prosperous ones. Through the intercession of your chosen prophets, admit us to paradise in the company of the purified, virtuous ones. Bestow blessings and peace on your chosen prophet and his family as befits your compassion and deserved by his being a holy, respectable one, and keep us and our religion in peace and security. Amen. All praise be to God, Lord of the worlds. To conclude, naturalism and dogmatic adherence to causality close the door of thanksgiving to the Creator and lead to associating partners with Him. Everything has two aspects: its sensed, physical form or body determined by its assigned functions and purposes, and its immaterial aspect composed of all forms it will assume during its lifespan. Only God can clothe everything in their proper garments. The relationship of a member of a species with its particular species, that species' relationship with all other species, and all species' relation with all other species, despite time and distance, manifest the existence and oneness of an all-knowing, all-willing, all-powerful, and all-wise Creator. Just as the sun has to diffuse light, so God manifests Himself by sending messengers. The Almighty's infinite justice, munificence, mercy, grace, generosity, dignity, majesty, recording, and preserving require the founding of a new, eternal world where everyone will see the consequences of what they did in this world. In sum, the truth of the resurrection is agreed upon by God and His names, the Qur'an, all the prophets, including the last and greatest of them, the saints and the prophets and exacting scholars, and by the universe with whatever happens in it. The fourth treatise, a drop from the ocean of the proofs of divine unity. In the name of God, the all-merciful, the all-compassionate. All praise be to God and blessings be upon His Prophet. Introduction. Know, O friend, that during the 40 years of my life and my 30 years of study, I have learned 4 words or phrases and 4 sentences, each of which is a general ruling. The phrases are being like a ladder, a sign of the whole or pointing to others rather than to itself, like a word pointing to or representing itself, intention and viewpoint. In other words, everything except God should be considered on account of God Almighty, not on its own account. Considering the universe in terms of itself or material causes is wrong. Everything has 2 aspects. One points to the Creator, the other points to creation. Any created being should be considered with respect to its first aspect, that of being a sign of the Almighty Creator. For example, any bounty or blessing should be associated with the divine gift or divine act of bestowing bounties. The related means and causes should be seen as mirrors reflecting the management or administration of divine power. Similarly, intention and viewpoint change the nature of things, and as an elixir turns soil into the gold, good intention and correct viewpoint change evil acts into good ones. Intention transforms our everyday, ordinary acts into acts of worship, and viewpoint allows science to become a means of acquiring knowledge of God. If scientific findings are considered in terms of material causes and means, they become a means of ignorance. If they are considered in terms of or on account of God, they produce knowledge of God. The 4 sentences are as follows. First sentence. I am neither the owner nor master of myself. The one who owns me is the owner of creation, the one of majesty and munificence. I imagine that I own myself in order to understand the attributes of my owner by comparison. I perceive the infinite one through my limitations in power, attributes, capacities, etc. When the sun rises and morning comes, stars set. Second sentence. Death is inevitable. This life and body cannot be the world's foundation. As the body is made of flesh, blood, and bones, which eventually will decompose, one's life and body cannot be eternal. How can a palace as large as the world be built with desires and fancies upon such a loose foundation and rotting support? Third sentence. My Lord is one. Happiness is realized only by submitting to the one Lord. If this were not so, everyone would need as many conflicting lords as there are entities in the universe. As human nature is comprehensive, human beings need almost everything and have connections with whatever there is in the universe. Whether consciously or not, they are affected by all of them and suffer because of them. This is a hellish state. On the other hand, knowledge and recognition of the one Lord, before whose hand of power all those fancied or supposed lords are but a thin veil, is a paradisical state. Fourth sentence. The ego is a black dot a point of comparison to know and recognize God, intertwined with the threads of a conscious artistry. It shows that its owner is nearer to it than itself. The sentences are explained in the first chapter's conclusion. First chapter. This is about the profession of belief. There is no deity but God. In the name of God, the All-Merciful, the All-Compassionate. All praise be to the Lord of the worlds, and peace and blessings be upon the Master of the Messengers, his family, and his companions. I bear witness that there is no deity but God, whose necessary existence and perfect attributes, and whose oneness, unity, singularity, and being the eternally besought of all, are decisively established by the following arguments. The Prophet as the first proof for God's existence and unity. The first, foremost, and unanimously confirmed truthful witness and the articulate, verified proof is the Lord of the prophets and messengers, the leader of all saints and God-conscious scholars. He holds the meaning of the confirmation of God's existence and unity and the consensus thereon of all prophets, messengers, saints, and scholars. He has clear signs testifying to his prophethood and many miracles unanimously confirmed and transmitted by the companions, later generations, and reliable authorities. He has lofty, laudable virtues and perfect, admirable morals. He is the center upon which the divine revelation is focused, the traveler in the unseen worlds, who saw spirits and conversed with angels, and the guide of humanity and jinn. Through his person, he demonstrates that he is the favorite of the creator of the universe, the embodiment of all perfections shared by creation. The law he brought contains all principles of happiness, which proves that it is the order established by the order of the universe. He is our master who guides us to believe. He is Muhammad ibn Abdullah ibn Abdul Muttalib. Upon him be the best blessing and most perfect peace. At the head of all witnesses, he informs us in this visible, material world of what he witnesses in the world of the unseen. As a bringer of good tidings and a warner, he announces to everyone with his fullest voice and all his strength, perfect earnestness, and utmost reliability, and infinite conviction and perfect belief, and regardless of time or place, that there is no deity but God. The Qur'an as the second proof for God's existence and unity. The Qur'an is another witness of God's necessary existence and oneness, an expounder of His majesty, beauty, grace, and perfection. It holds the meaning of the consensus of all heavenly scriptures sent to all prophets, as well as the meaning of the unanimous agreement of the books of all saints and authenticating monotheist scholars. Those with sound reason and conscience and truly enlightened intellects have affirmed the commandments of the Qur'an, which is enlightening in all aspects. The Qur'an is the word of God. Those honored by the divine revelation, inspiration, and the ability to unveil hidden truths affirm that it is pure revelation, pure guidance, and the source of belief containing all truths. It leads to happiness and continuously yields perfect fruit. Angels, uncountable people, and jinn have accepted and adopted it. Those with reason, wisdom, sound judgment, and conscience have agreed that the Qur'an is confirmed with rational proofs and the testimony of good character and disposition. It is an eternal miracle, the tone of the unseen, and bears witness in the visible, material world to the fact that there is no deity but God. This great book of the universe, with all its chapters, sections, pages, lines, sentences, and letters, testifies to God's necessary existence and oneness, and His attributes of majesty, beauty, grace, and perfection. This is also true of this macro-human being, the cosmos, with all its systems, organs, cells, atoms, attributes, and states. Through its worlds and spheres, it says that there is no deity but God, and through those worlds' main constituents, it says that there is no creator but He. Through those constituents parts, it says that there is no maker but He, and through those parts components, it says that there is no director but He. Through those components elements, it says that there is no giver of certain form and disposition but He, and through those elements cells, it says that there is none but He with the necessary power of ordering and disposing them. Through those cells, atoms, or minutest particles, it says that there is no creator but He, and through the ocean of ether in which all atoms or particles are sown, it says there is no deity but He. In sum, the universe, with all of its species, worlds, spheres, constituents, parts, components, atoms, and ether, testifies in 55 languages to the eternal designer's necessary existence and unity. The universe as the third proof for God's existence and unity. Those 55 languages are explained below. However, first we will mention them briefly. Through the languages of its individual parts and well-ordered compounds and the poverty and neediness of its living creatures, the universe bears witness to the necessary existence and oneness of its all-powerful and beginningless Creator. Through the well-ordered conditions or states it undergoes, its amazing and perfect forms, and its specific and ornamented designs, the universe points to His attributes of perfection. Through the lofty purposes it serves, the great benefits it produces, the extraordinary variation it displays, and the well-arranged similarities it exhibits, the universe mentions and recites His all beautiful names. Through the languages of the order and excellent measure observed in its wholes and parts, the good arrangement and regularity it manifests, and the firm and faultless artistry discerned in everything, the universe praises Him. Through mutual assistance among different inanimate objects, solidarity among the similar and varying things, the languages of universal wisdom and perfect favoring, of comprehensive mercy, all-encompassing provision, and all-permeating life, the universe interprets the Qur'an's verses. Through the languages of beauty and making beautiful, the grace manifested everywhere, through love, attraction, and being attracted, and nature's quality as divine truth's shadow, the universe contributes to the brightness of Islam's light. Through the languages of acting for certain purposes, changes in an entity during its lifespan for certain benefits, and transformations for certain instances of wisdom, alterations for certain aims, and ordering and arrangements towards perfection, the universe interprets the Qur'an's verses. Through the languages of its being contingent and having a beginning, its needs, poverty, and destitution, its helplessness, death, ignorance, and ephemerality, and its being subject to ever-changing and final destruction to be built again, the universe declares God's power. Through the languages of the acts and forms of its worship, glorification, prayer, and seeking refuge with Him and with all its individual parts and compounds, the universe strengthens submission to the summit of prophethood and belief in the necessarily existent being, one and single. In all such languages and under the command of the eternal divine word, the Qur'an and presidency of the master of all creatures, Prophet Muhammad, and all other messengers, the universe announces, God, there is no deity but He, the all-living, the self-subsistent and sustainer. The universe manifests the truth of there is no deity but God in the following 55 languages. 1. As a whole and with all its parts, the universe displays an evident order and extraordinary concord among its individual parts. This points to the necessary existence of Him whose hand of power holds the universe and bears witness in the tone of this universal order that there is no deity but God. 2. Everything is so exactly measured and proportioned that it announces that there is no deity but God, who set this measure and made all things in proportions and exactly commensurate with one another. 3. The harmony, arrangement, and regularity displayed show that different hands cannot interfere in it and announces in the language of this harmony, arrangement, and regularity that there is no deity but God. 4. The art and design exhibited in this house of the universe point to the fact that the one who designed and decorated it is also its owner and testifies in the language of this art and design that there is no deity but God. 5. The perfection of the art displayed by the pen of destiny in everything according to the capacity of each shows that the pen is one and announces that there is no deity but God. 6. The mutual relationship between all things and faultless artistry displayed in each demonstrate that the one who inscribed the page of the sky with stars and suns is he who inscribes the pages of the honeybee and ants with their cells. In the language of all its creatures, the universe bears witness that there is no deity but God. 7. We see that even inanimate objects, no matter how far from each other, aid each other for wise purposes. For example, corn and fruits become sustenance for human cells. In the language of this mutual assistance, the universe bears witness that there is no deity but God. 8. As between the sun and the planets, which are its fruits, there is solidarity among different, distant objects. This solidarity shows that whatever exists is under the command and control of only one being. In the language of this solidarity, the universe testifies that there is no deity but God. 9. The resemblance among certain things, such as among the stars, is another language in which the universe proclaims that there is no deity but God. 10. The proportion among certain things, such as flowers, demonstrates that whatever exists belongs to the same owner and is controlled by the same power. In the language of this proportion, the universe testifies that there is no deity but God. 11. Every living thing receives the manifestations of numerous names. Note, for example, the names Creator, Shaper, All-Seeing, All-Hearing, Arranger, Provider, Sustainer, All-Healing, and many others manifest themselves on the same being. Like the 7 colors in sunlight, each name has its own beauty and imprints. And yet, they work to the same effect in each individual thing, even cells. This shows that the one who has these names is one and same being. The all-living creator of something is also its shaper, provider, and sustainer. The one who provides something is the creator of the sources of provision, and its creator is he who has dominion over everything. This reality opens a window on the necessary existence and unity of the one called by the names mentioned, and in the language of every living thing, the universe testifies that there is no deity but God.